All right, welcome back, everyone. My name is Brandon Elliott, your host to Ready, Set, Go Real Estate Investing Podcast. Super excited today about, the legend that we have. Thankfully, I have the privilege to interview Mr. Darell Kucan.
Kucan, yeah.
Too much for you.
It's like the bird, right? Toucan Sam, it's Kucan.
Okay, Kucan. Cool. So, man, thank you for joining. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome, man. I'm humbled to be here. I appreciate it, Brandon. Thank you for inviting me.
Of course, yeah. So I mean, you are seriously a legend in San Diego here. You've literally dibble-dabbled into everything by doing fix and flips, mastering that, partnerships. You got education, from my understanding, from Renatus, as well as
yes.
Ground up construction, wholesaling, buy and holds, seller financing. You've done it all, right?
Done it all. Subject twos, right? Yeah.
And at the same time, you've also built up a San Diego Investors Club meetup that you guys meet up once a month.
We do. We meet on the first Thursday of every month. It's the San Diego Investment Club. It's pretty simple. You can Google it, right?
Yeah. That's awesome. So, I mean, it's definitely an honor to have you on here. I'm super thankful for the nuggets that you're about to drop. Do you mind just digging deeper a little bit into, who you are exactly, and giving a little bit more history into what you've done?
Absolutely. For those of you who don't know my story, I come from a pretty humble background, a very loving family. And it was a family that didn't really push me to go to college, right? They didn't really tell me to go get that degree so I can go get a 9-to-5 job so I can, retire on 40% of my income. It just wasn't in the family tradition, I guess you could say. Mm-hmm. They were very supportive, and even early on, coming out of high school, I was able to get a couple of mediocre jobs, right? I worked for Subway. I think I even worked for Taco Bell at some point, right? Worked at grocery stores. And then it kind of fell in my lap, ended up working at an apartment complex. And that happened because early on in my life, right, I ended up meeting my wife. She's my ex-wife, and she graduated with a psychology degree. So here's kind of a kid coming out of high school, didn't really have direction in his life, but then, meet this gorgeous woman who's got a psychology degree that could maybe push me to go other places. Now, that's not really what I had in mind in the beginning, but we clicked, right? Early on, we started having kids. And when I landed in this apartment job, I was one of the maintenance guys. So I was the guy that you would call at 3 o'clock in the morning when your toilet clogged, right? Yeah. So here I am coming out of bed, 3 o'clock in the morning, coming over to your house, doing the thing that unclogs your toilet, right? That lasted. Well, it lasted because it did. I mean, that was my job. And I kind of fell into that job. It was the guy that came over and our lights went out. I didn't even know what a breaker was at that point. So I called our maintenance guy and we clicked. He hit it off and he said, "Hey, you looking for a job?" And I said, "Sure, why not?" So he says, I don't know anything about plumbing. I don't know anything about electrical. I don't know anything about maintenance. He goes, "That's okay. I'll help you pass the test." So long story short, got a job there. Actually liked it. Property management company I worked for. We started having kids. And then a little bit later, we ended up buying our first house. And this was a house that I grew up in Tigard, Oregon. Okay. It was my grandmother's house. Well, she got in a little financial situation. So when I went to go get the loan, again, knowing nothing about real estate, the loan turned out to be a NAGAM loan, but I knew I could afford $450 a month, right? That was a really easy payment, even on the jobs that I had, right, that didn't really pay well. So we bought our first house, and then unfortunately
Sorry.
What's that?
What year was that?
Boy, that was 1990. Well, okay, so Avery was born in 1996, so probably 1998.
Okay.
Was when we bought our first house.
Yeah.
And we moved in. Things were great for about a year, and then my wife got sick. She became disabled with fibromyalgia. And so then I found myself working 3 jobs because I was working there during the day. She would be waitressing at night. and it was good because we were able to raise our own kids. And when she became sick, I just ended up taking on 3 jobs, but it didn't last long, right? I couldn't take 3 jobs on and try to take care of a sick wife and new babies that we're having. So when I bought the house, I bought it for $127,000. About 2 years later, we ended up, or no, 3 years later, we ended up selling the house because our NAGAM loan went from like $450 a month to $1,450 a month, right? That's a big, big jump. So I thought at the time it was called a short sale. I didn't know what a short sale was, but I thought it was a short sale because I don't know, because I was dumb at the time, or just ignorant, I guess you could say. I didn't have the education.
You weren't educated at the time.
Right. I just didn't know. Well, it was pretty darn close to a short sale. It turns out I sold the house for $187. That's a $60,000 spread. However, after the banks took their fees and the lawyers took their fees, because I was in default, right? After the realtors got paid, I ended up walking away with a nice big fat $800 check. Well, that $800 check was used for the U-Haul and gas to come down to California.
Yeah.
And so in 2002, we moved to California, and I ended up living in my father-in-law's, my wife's at the time, her dad's house in Poway. And it was a very uncomfortable situation, but because I had the property management background, I was able to pick my feet up, and I found a job, and I was able to get a free place to live along with a salary. So good. I'm back on my feet. Things are going well. And then what happened was I saw the books on this apartment complex. It was over 500 units right there in Rancho Penasquitos. And when I saw the bottom line number, I saw that this guy was making about $1 million a year gross. And I thought, wait a minute. How could this guy be making $1 million a year? And I see him one time a year, which means he's got 364 days of vacation. He comes to the property one time a year just to make sure I'm doing my job, property management doing their job. And it bothered me, but not to the point where it bothered me. It really got me curious. Like, how can I be this guy? Yeah. That's kind of when the light bulb started to click. Well, again, I wasn't educated. I didn't know any better, and you don't know what you don't know. Yeah. So I had just started looking around the internet and trying to figure out, how to get started in real estate. And I actually started with apartment complexes. Well, I found the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. That's kind of what changed my mindset, right? I realized, oh my gosh, there's another way to live life. There's investments. There's all these things that you can do, and passive income, and fix and flips and chunk money and those kinds of things. So I got really excited. And when I got really excited, it was funny because I'm sure there was this sign that I missed over and over until I realized what I wanted. And then all of a sudden there's this yellow sign on the side of the road. It's a bandit sign. Yeah. It said, real estate investor needs help, right? So I'm like, oh, this is perfect. So I give him a call thinking I can maybe intern or whatever. Well, it turns out that it was about education. And I love that because I was now introduced to a place where I could be educated in the right way. And you did mention it's called Renatus. Yeah. And at the time they had 24 classes. And so I started taking the fix and flip class. I started taking the negotiations class, the buy and hold class, and the tax and legal class, and all these different classes, right? Mm-hmm. Well, I immediately took action, and I started doing deals out in Jackson, Mississippi, right?
How far after you started the education process did you start taking action?
I jumped right in. I probably about 6 months after I was learning for about 6 months, and then decided to jump in. Yeah. And these were properties that I was taught to build a team, find a wholesaler, find contractors, find your escrow and title agents, get yourself hooked up with a really good real estate agent, and build your team out there. Yeah. And when I did that, we were able to find properties at 60,000. We're all in for like 60,000, right? We buy them for 40 after closing everything. Put 15,000 into them, but we'd end up selling them for anywhere from $80,000 to $120,000. So again, we're all in for 60 to 80,000 maybe. And these are turnkey rentals. And what's funny is it came back around because that's kind of what we're doing right now. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, so we'd buy, we'd fix, we'd tenant, we'd manage, and we'd sell these as a turnkey rental to passive income investors. People may be using their IRAs to be able to invest in these for passive income. Yeah. So that worked out pretty good for a while. And then within the community of Renatus, and we were all doing like a lot of deals. We'd help each other. And what was fun about that was, that's actually where I met my current business partner, Dr. Imran Clark. Yeah. And one of the components of one of the classes they have is your investor ID, which is a super class, because I actually scored really high in short sales. Well, he did as well. And when we met and decided to partner up, we decided to do not short sales, right? We decided to go for the big money. We decided to go for what at that time was called bulk REOs. Well, it turned out to be a unicorn. At that time, they didn't really exist. So for 6 months, at that time, I knew I was going to make $1 million that year. So I quit my job and I went right for it. Well, that didn't happen either. I ended up going homeless again, right? Chasing my dream. We were doing well for a while, but after 6 months of no income and not building that reserve account up, it back down to my in-law's house, living in the middle of his floor on a blow-up mattress with my kids on the couch all around us, right? It was, again, very humbling. It was not a good place to be, but it was definitely motivation.
Yeah.
And
just to back up for just a second, so what made you guys actually decide when you started partnering together not to go the wholesale route when you guys,
Well, the wholesales and the short sale, well, because we were chasing money. We were chasing the big money, what we thought was the easy way to go, the easy money, right? Okay. And it turned out it wasn't easy. It turned out it wasn't really real. And so at some point we just said, you know what, this is dumb. We're doing the wrong things. We're both trained in short sales. This is exactly what we need to be doing. And so we just need 2 questions answered, 2. Once we got those 2 questions answered, we went to work. When we went to work, our goal was to put 20 properties under contract in 30 days.
Okay.
So we did a little bit of marketing. Didn't have to do much back then. People were literally giving their houses away, right? Yeah. And we ended up putting, I think, 27 properties under contract in 30 days. Okay. And at that point, we had to cut the marketing off. We had to stop and focus on what we had. Yeah. Because if we didn't focus on what we had, we'd lose it. So we ended up moving forward with the short sales, and they take a while. That's really why we stood away from it. It's tough. Short sales aren't easy. It's a long process. Yeah. And I shouldn't say that. The process is simple, but it's just the negotiating with at the time we could actually negotiate without being realtors or brokers. We could actually negotiate. And so we did. And we were the ones negotiating the short sale packages together and doing the entire process. We'd have it all in the pipeline, right? So we had a bunch going at the same time. And once we ended up getting to our first deal, and let me tell you about the first deal. Is that okay?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Our first deal was it was in Chula Vista. It had $800,000 in loans, right? It had a first lien and a second lien totaling $800,000. We ended up negotiating that deal and buying that property for $195,000. Now that is an insane discount. And this was still when the market was still going down.
Of course.
Right? The bank sent their appraisal out. It appraised for $300,000, but we still picked it up for the $195,000. And one of the reasons we were able to get even the discount off the appraisal is because we knew not only how to negotiate with the bank, but we were taught the insides of the bank's finances and how the banks work and why it was the best deal, why we were the best deal to take at the time, because we knew their asset ratios. We understood how that works. So after they cussed us out a few times and said, you guys are investors, and we said, yeah, and you guys are going to buy it low and then you're going to sell it for a higher price. We said, yeah, we're going to do that. In fact, this because we disclosed it all to you. We're full disclosure. Yeah. They asked how much we're going to resell it for. That's the one thing we didn't have to tell them. That's okay. Just know that we're going to make a profit. And the same thing with the buyers. Well, this is the fun thing is we picked it up for $195,000. We found a buyer, an all cash buyer, to come in and buy it from us for $265,000. Mm-hmm. Now, was that all of our money? Do you think this is our very first deal? Do you think we had any money to buy the house?
Yeah, no money.
No, we used other people's money, right? But we were trained and we had this deal so rock solid and so tight with all the paperwork that this investor decided to come in 100%. We didn't even have to come in with a down payment. They came in 100%. They financed the entire deal, and we sold the deal 2 hours later after we purchased it for $365,000. No, $265,000.
Uh-huh.
So all said and done, after the closing costs and after the lender made their fees, we ended up with a net check of $56,000. So that was one of the highlights of my life, right? The struggle was, my self-confidence and and can this really happen? And can this really work? Well, once we closed our first deal, I knew it was possible. And I knew that we had like 26, 25 other properties right behind it.
Yeah.
And that $56,000 check, you know, of course, was split at half with my business partner, but that's what got me back into not being homeless, right? I was able to, and I put 6 months down of rent on a place because my credit was shot and because of this and that, but it allowed me to know that it's possible.
Yeah.
So that was our very first deal. That was fun.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a bunch of confidence level there as well, along with, you know, you're not so crazy and it is actually working out. So that's awesome.
Yeah, and it was funny because once it closed, you know, I thought I would just be overexcited and just overzealous about the whole thing. And you know what? It was like I knew that there was more. It was like, all right, good, done. Let's move on to the next one, right?
Ooh, that's good. That's good.
So we kept going, and let's see. Yeah, we had several more. I mean, we've done over 400 deals today. Actually, I don't know, maybe even closer to 5. I stopped counting. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
From there, we started doing, because we did a few wholesales, right? Short sale wholesales. And then we progressed into doing our own fix and flips. And because I had the property management background, you know, during the apartment complex, when I used to work for those, we do 30 turns a month. Maintenance, paint, clean, carpet, get the tenant in. They'd move out, maintenance, paint, clean, carpet. And we do this 30 times a month. So I thought, you know, I had pretty confidence that we could maintenance, paint, clean, carpet a house, right? Pretty easy, fix and flip. So we negotiated some pretty stellar deals. The very first deal we went in on our fix and flip, we had we told the bank it was going to be an $80,000 rehab. Although we didn't have to replace the kitchen. We just basically do some floors, painting. You know, we thought it'd be like 40 to 50 grand. Well, we had a pool issue, or we thought it was a pool, where we thought the pool kept leaking. So it was weeks and weeks and weeks, and a lot of money were thrown at this. Well, it turned out it did cost us $80,000, but we knew on our first deal that we were going to fix and flip. We had a huge spread that even if it did cost us $80,000, we'd still make, I don't know, $70,000 or $80,000 on the deal.
Okay.
Well, it actually turned out to be a sprinkler head that was leaking continuously that flooded the yard. It wasn't the pool at all. And we had divers in there doing, trying to figure out where this leak was.
Yeah.
So that was a little learning curve there, but that was our very first fix and flip. I think we made like 60 or 70,000 on that one, maybe closer to 80.
Wow.
Let's see. What else do you want to know?
There's some great learning curves here.
Right.
You know, especially when it comes down to, you think the whole time it's the pool situation, and then it turns out to be just a sprinkler, something simple.
Simple. Yeah. I mean, you're gonna come across times where, you know, you uncover something that you didn't think was there. For example, I know it's a big deal, and you should know this, but like a cracked slab. You buy a house, you walk in, maybe as a foreclosure, you didn't realize this, right? You buy it as a foreclosure, you walk in, and then you pull up the carpet and there's a big giant crack slab. Well, there's an additional, could be up to 30 grand to fix something like that you didn't really account for. So, you know, you got to do your due diligence. You got to do your walkthroughs. You got to be really careful about that if you can. You know, and then we progressed to bigger deals, right? It wasn't just the simple fix and flips, which we've done a lot of those too, $30,000 rehabs. We started doing room additions. We started adding square feet. You know, we were doing houses that were fire damaged. And from there, we progressed into what we're kind of doing now, which is new construction.
Okay.
In between doing these short sales and doing acquisitions over the last several years, we were able to acquire properties via subject twos or seller financing, right?
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know what a subject to is, it's basically where we're taking over the person's mortgage and they're deeding us the house. So we own the house, they own the mortgage, but there has to be a trust issue here, right? They have to be able to trust us to be able to write that check every month and pay the mortgage. Mm-hmm. Well, we were able to do that because we could turn around, fix it up a little bit, and rent the place out. For example, in Escondido, we had one. We took over a mortgage that was $110,000, had a $750 principal and interest and insurance payment and taxes, and we rented it out for $1,500 a month. So we were cash flowing $750 a month, and that's right here in San Diego.
Yes.
That's one way to cash flow in San Diego. It's kind of hard to do now. You can't just buy a house and cash flow.
Yeah.
Maybe you could, but it's pretty tough.
When's the last time you've done a transaction like that? Or how many have you guys actually acquired in subject?
That way? Oh, I don't know. 10s could be up to 20, right?
Yeah. That's awesome.
So again, 110, cash flowed for about a year. And then we sold it for 220 or 230, something like that. So we netted about 100,000 on that one.
Yeah.
We had a really.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the ways to cash flow in San Diego. I love that strategy too, because People talk about, where do I find the money? Well, in that situation, you did find the money, right?
Yeah.
The money is right at the bank.
Yeah.
You took over that person's mortgage.
Mhm.
You just found the money.
Yeah.
So I love that.
Now, have you ever come across because most contracts, most mortgages that is, has the clause in there, due on sale.
Due on sale, yes.
Yeah. So I know it, it's in the contract, but at the same time, if you're making the payments, it's kind of like one of those things that the banks typically, they don't ever, go forth in that way. But has that ever come across you guys in with a concern or like a plan B, just in case if that did happen?
Well, as a plan B, I suppose, it never really happened to us. We have heard about it happening to one person.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. But in order for us to kind of avoid that kind of a transaction happening,
yeah,
what we personally did, and I'm not an attorney, and here's your disclosure, by the way, guys, I'm not an attorney, I'm not a financial advisor. You got to do your due diligence on everything, and anything that you guys do is all up to you, and it's all your fault if you lost money, and it's all your fault if you make money. So that's my disclosure.
Don't knock on my door with any problems.
yeah, exactly. So don't blame me.
Yeah.
But if you make money, I guess you can say, hey, help me out. So, but yeah, what we did is we actually, we dropped prior to closing, prior to getting the deed to the property, we put the property into a trust.
Okay.
Right? Deeds all the time, right? So after that happens, then we become the beneficiaries and the trustees of the trust.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're writing checks out of the trust, and the bank is now receiving payments. And really, there's no question, right? Because they don't see an actual owner, the checks coming from it. So anyway, so that's one way to, I'm not gonna say get around it, but that's one way to have the banks not throw red flags up.
Okay.
However, there was a time where we were, I think it was foreclosure was 3 days away. And in California, if you don't know this, that the banks have a right to say, no, we're not going to allow you to catch up on your payments if it's within 5 days of the foreclosure. Mm-hmm. They have that right.
Yeah.
Banks aren't in the business of real estate. They don't want to take the property back.
Yeah, of course.
But we've heard of that sometimes too. Yeah, hey, it's too late. Sorry, we're going to go ahead and continue with the foreclosure. Mm-hmm. Well, in this case, I think it was in Murrieta, maybe somewhere in Temecula. Mm-hmm. We called the bank. We said, hey, listen, we'd like to catch up on the payments and bring the loan current and then continue making the payments. And they're like, okay, great. We understand it's, we understand that it's 3 days away. Are you going to allow this? They said, yes. As long as you bring a cashier's check in tomorrow, we'll go ahead and allow that. So we walk into the bank, we talk to the gentleman, and he sees the owner there, and then he sees us there. And he says, wait a minute, so are you guys investors? And we said, well, we're not going to lie. We don't lie.
Don't lie.
But we're not going to walk in and say, hey, we're investors. So when he asks us the question, we're going to answer it. He says, yeah. He goes, so what are you going to do? Are you going to are you going to pay the back due payments and then own the house and then start paying us? And we said, pretty much.
Yeah.
Because great, let's go get it done. Right? Because they really don't want to take these houses back.
Yeah.
So again, it's disclosure, right? We're not going to lie.
Yeah.
And it worked out. So
good.
I'm glad it worked out, because, if it were to be the other way around, I would want to know that.
Of course.
And if you were to say, hey, well, by the way, if you guys do this, we're going to do a due on sale and we're going to take the house back anyway. And that, of course, we wouldn't do the deal.
Yeah.
So, it's a good thing that we had that conversation. Anyway.
Transparency, communication and being upfront is very, very key to success.
It's very key to success. Right.
Okay. So, backtracking a little bit. So you started off doing wholesales, and then you found yourself doing a couple, what is it?
Like subject twos.
Subject twos. And
lease options, seller finance. Yeah.
Yeah. So how did you get into the transition of doing ground up construction?
Well, that was kind of organic, right? I mean, some people can jump right into it, but there has to be a learning curve. And for us to just jump into new construction, that would have been a pretty big leap. So getting in as a wholesaler, that's probably one of the easiest ways to start, is to become a wholesaler. You get to understand contracts. You get to understand negotiating. You get to understand how fix and flippers look at a wholesale contract on their numbers.
Yeah.
And so that's why we kind of transitioned into fix and flips. We were giving such great deals and such great spreads to these investors. We're like, okay, we have to do this. We have to start. We're leaving money on the table, right?
Of course.
So that's how we transitioned into fix and flips. And then once into fix and flips and some buy and holds, we started buying property out in St. Louis, Missouri. We buy these little houses for 20, 30 grand. We put 10 to 20 into them, and we're in them for a total of 40 grand. They rent for 800 a month.
Yeah.
So while we were doing that and acquiring those types of houses, we started, because of the inventory and what was happening in the current marketplace, that we'd create our own inventory. It was hard lately for us to come in and buy a good deal, so good deals don't land in your lap, by the way. Good deals are created.
Yes.
And in San Diego, we've actually ran the numbers, and it's anywhere from $8,000 to $13,000 in marketing to be able to acquire one house. That's going to give us the spread that we need. Well, we all know now people are way overpaying for these properties, and they're working on such slim margins. You got companies out there that are buying these things. They're making $20,000 a house, but they're also spending $600,000 to do it. That's not in our books, right? That's way too thin of a margin. There's no way we would do something like that. So we had to figure out, we had to go with the market. We got to follow the cheese, right? We got to go where the cheese goes. We got to follow the money.
Yeah.
So we decided to start building new construction. And we realized pretty soon that new construction in California was even difficult. Going through the city and permits and plans, and it got really expensive really fast. I mean, we're talking, $16,000 for a water meter? Oh, come on. That's just ridiculous, right? So within our organization, within the network, we'd met a gentleman who came from Kansas City, Missouri. He was working on some other people's projects. In fact, he was kind of working on some of our new builds as well. And he opened his mouth and he said, well, I used to build houses, new construction, and between the lot purchase and the purchase and the construction costs, you can build a house all in for about $270,000. They're selling for about $370,000. So, okay, that's a pretty good spread. How long does that take? 6 months, give or take a couple of months. Wait, so you're saying I could build a house in 6 months and sell it and give the keys all within 6 months? And the answer was, yeah, actually you can. So we sent him back over to Kansas City, right?
Yeah.
All right, we're going to partner up. We're going to, we're all going to work together on this. We'll raise the money. You know what you're doing on the construction side. You have your processes, your people, and let's make this happen. So we've done several of those already. Even some investors are coming in and they're funding 100%, and we're going 50-50 with them, and they're making anywhere from 18 to 25% return on their investments. And we don't have to go get a hard money loan, so that we like that, because we don't have monthly mortgage payments either.
Okay.
We're leaving a little on the table. We give more to the investor, but it's peace of mind, right? So that's kind of how we transitioned into, I guess, new construction. And then while we were out there, we thought, we need cash flow. So we looked into buy and holds, and we were looking in all different markets around the U.S., and we settled on St. Louis, Missouri, because it's a really good market. It's got good job growth. It's got, steady income, and it's got a pretty high rent to income ratio. 40 grand for a house that rents for $750 a month.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a really good cap rate, 13% cap rates, right?
Of course. So, when you say we, this is you and your partner, Imran?
Yes.
Okay. And you guys have just, solidified that relationship, and the partnership obviously has been going pretty swell.
Going pretty good, yeah. We opened our doors in 2009.
Okay.
And 6 months after that is when we started doing the short sales.
Okay.
And,
do you mind talking about partnerships for a little bit? Because partnerships is something that I'm actually personally just getting into the position of starting to use other people's money, and people want to partner up with me on a couple of deals that I'm working on in Ohio where I invest. But it's obviously in the game of real estate, we are, it's really a relationship business. So
it is.
So that's what it really comes down to. But I'm just trying to wrap my head around different tactics around pulling off a good partnership, because I've heard so many different things from different people that I do respect and look up to. But I'm just kind of curious, what would you recommend for partnerships?
Well, there's several different partnerships.
Yeah.
So it depends on what you're talking about. Are you talking about a business partner?
Mm-hmm.
And if you do, you want to make sure that you guys are defining roles.
Yeah.
Right? One person might be on the marketing and acquisition side, while the other person's on maybe the fix, working with the contractors on the disposition side.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot that goes into business, right? It's not just fix and flipping houses. You're running a business. You've got accounting, you've got your marketing, you've got acquisitions and the fixing part and the disposition, and it's a whole network of things that you have to do as a business. It's not just as simple as buying a house. I suppose it could be. It really is as simple as buying a house, fixing a house, and selling a house for profit. But there's a lot of stuff that goes into those three things, right? So make sure that your alignments are with, your goals. You got to set goals with each other. Make sure that, this is going to be the right partnership for you. And sometimes it's hard. I've had partners in the past before Imran, and we kind of jumped into it, and they didn't really work out so well.
Yeah.
Not that there's any bad feelings, it just didn't work out, right? My expectations weren't met.
Yeah.
Now, if we're talking partnerships with, let's say, money, right? Private money, that's a whole different ballgame. That's a different type of a partnership. You're gonna make sure. I mean, besides having an LLC and a partnership, and your paperwork in order, it's the same kind of thing. There's a lot of trust and confidence that has to go into that as well. They have to understand who you are, and you're going to interview them just as much as they should be interviewing you. And when you're partnering, there's a lot of different things that could happen with that as well. It depends on how you want to do partnerships.
Yeah.
Some people raise money to gap fund, and they do hard money with a gap funder.
Mm-hmm.
That could be a partnership. Some people like us, we like to go in 50-50 partners and split the equity 50-50, but they got to come all in, right?
Okay. So when it comes down to, I guess, like the task that you guys are both bringing to the table, do you mind going over, I guess, your role and Imran's role, I guess, brought to the table, as well as, how detailed are you guys writing out these contracts?
Well, we don't just write them out, right? We have attorneys that go over them, and that's definitely something you have to do. Right?
Okay.
And you can find these templates, but definitely have the attorney look them over. We've had some that have been almost rewritten. The entire thing's been rewritten. We thought it was one way, and our attorney advised us, no, this is the way it should be done. So of course we're going to take the advice of the attorney. Yeah. So yeah, just go to your attorney, right, for your partnership agreements, because one agreement isn't going to be the same for everybody, right? So you're going to want to have your own. Depends on how you want to lay your terms out. Depends on how you want to handle the split. Depends on how you want to handle the timelines. So it really depends.
And if somebody is just bringing money to the table, now, would you recommend actually giving them like an equity position, or if they're just money, just give them a strong return, almost like a guarantee on their money?
We've done both, right? We've done all three, and you only mentioned two, but there's three. You could do a straight up, 8 to 10% return.
Yep.
You could do a full on 50-50 equity partnership, which is what we like to do. Again, we avoid having that monthly mortgage payment.
Okay.
Or you could do a little bit of both. You can give them a small return plus an equity position. So there's really is different types. And this is why I say it really depends on who you're working with and how you want to structure your own deal, because every deal is different.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Makes sense?
Yeah. Okay. So if you wouldn't mind, what kind of positions do you guys fill? What kind of tasks are you guys in charge of?
Well, we just added another one. Our office manager / bookkeeper. She just got her forensic accounting degree, so she went to go get a higher paying job.
Yeah.
She's been with us for 5 years, and so now you're not going to look at my desk, but there's a bunch of checks to be written, right?
Yeah.
It's a lot, right? So I'm doing a lot of the accounting. I'm doing the marketing. We hold weekly meetings as well, along with our monthly meeting at the San Diego Investment Club. So I'm running the meetings for that.
Yeah.
And let's see what else. Imran's pretty much handling the new construction here in California and the new construction out in Kansas City. I'm also handling the rentals. So I'm working with the property managers, managing the property managers that manage the rentals.
Yeah.
Boy, what else? Yeah, it goes pretty deep. So there's a lot to do.
Okay. Now,
I mean, I don't know if that answers your question.
no, it does. It does. I almost feel bad for you now with that, with her leaving, because I can definitely, I feel the pain, buddy.
Yeah.
So when it comes down to building a team, I know you and Imran are a powerhouse together, but do you have anybody else on the team, or is that a goal of yours to start building up so you can start leveraging out?
That's a really good question. And in fact, that is something that we had been struggling with in the past and that we're working on right now.
Okay.
Definitely leverage is the key, I think, to success.
Sure.
Pay people well for a job well done.
Yeah.
And so, yes, we are implementing systems and leverage, right? So we're to kind of have that with our teams out of state.
Okay.
We're constantly looking for volunteers for the club to help us out there. And yes, implementing people to help us do follow-up calls. There's a lot of follow-up calls to do, whether it's for properties or for prospects, right?
Okay.
So implementing other people to help set appointments, right? And so we're working with that, and that is a struggle.
Okay.
To be honest, that's one of the biggest struggles I think we're going through right now, is finding the right people to fill the right positions. And I blame myself in some cases, because it's hard for me to let go because nobody else is going to do a good job as I can, right? However, that's not necessarily true. There's probably people out there that would do a better job at certain tasks than I can do, right? I'm not an accountant. I'm not a bookkeeper. Yeah, we got to go find a bookkeeper and accountant that can do the same job I can do, but in half the time.
Yeah. Also, from seeing other mentors of mine, really do well on the delegating and leveraging, I've really noticed painting a vision into that person in particular, and understanding that they could have a majority of just taking over the company, one day or whatever the situation, and you just get a piece of it as it starts leveraging and getting bigger. I think that's very powerful to keep somebody around and really maximize their strengths.
Absolutely maximize, and not just their strengths. I mean, we as investors, we have to maximize our own strengths,
of course,
and leverage out our weaknesses for the people that have the strengths in my weakness, right? Yep. I think that's a really good way to start building a business.
Yeah, that's great. So just going back a little bit, I mean, when it comes down to leads, I know you guys started off with wholesaling, and that kind of that jump started you into everything pretty much. But how do you guys come across leads now? I know at this point you have a great network of people, as well as your name out there when it comes to how many members do you guys have at the investment club?
The club itself has over 3,500.
Okay, yeah, it's outrageous.
Yeah, it's pretty big.
Congratulations, that's cool.
Well, thank you. Well, so to answer your question, I guess again, it just depends on what we're looking for. I know we're not going after fix and flips right now.
Okay.
However, we have a bunch of wholesalers on our list that sends us deals all the time, or let me rephrase, that sends us what they think is opportunity at the same time, right? But a lot of stuff they're just throwing on the wall just to see if it sticks. Yeah. And some people do pay for what they're asking, but what's funny is sometimes it comes back around. We have one of our contacts from the past that we used to work with, did a lot of deals with her. She came back and she actually has an opportunity for us that actually could work. So we're actually going to put it under contract, and we are going to wholesale it out. We're going to wholesale it out with a number that actually could make sense. So if anybody wants a wholesale deal, they can always contact me. At the end of the show, I'll give my phone number and my email address.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's our connections. What's that?
I'm going to have to jump to it first.
You bet. I'll give it to you first. No worries.
Yeah.
No worries. But yeah, it does. It does. It comes down to our sphere of influence, right? We only hang around the people we want to hang around, the right people, the people that are going to help us and uplift us, and we just stay away from drama.
Yeah.
We have a really good community of other like-minded investors. So
yeah. So also, when you get yourself out there and you tell everybody, you know, exactly what you do, once the mailman knows exactly what you're doing, and everybody else, the pizza man, so it's like, you know, everybody, you pretty much create a bunch of bird dogs for you, that
you bet. Open your mouth.
Bird dog is anybody out there that's listening. It's really somebody that is looking for opportunities, looking for properties that could potentially turn into a deal. So have eyes on the ground for you.
Have eyes on the ground for you, and open your mouth and tell everybody. Have your 30-second elevator pitch down to, you know, a T.
Yeah, that's great.
Let
so when it comes down to, you just mentioned a moment ago about wholesalers sending you anything to, you know, that's me rewording it, but but I've come across this a lot, and especially, you know, within the market that we are in right now, I can understand to a certain degree, but with your credibility, your status, not to put you on a pedestal or anything, but, you know, do you ever like cut some people off, like, hey, you're almost wasting my time?
Yeah, we've deleted a lot of those people, right?
Okay.
And let me just tell you a little bit about just a looking down at the end of my thumb at a deal, right?
Okay.
A 30-second way to find out if it's a deal worth pursuing or not.
Yes.
It's actually pretty simple. You take the acquisition price and you add 15% of that acquisition price and you throw that in the fire. So let's say a $400,000 house, you're going to add 15% of that. So that's what, $60,000, right? That's going to cover your realtor fees, your closing costs, your cost of money, right? All of your costs, all of your fees. So now we're up to 460. And then you add your rehab cost in there. And then you add your profit.
Okay.
And that should be pretty close to what your exit price should be.
Okay.
Right? If they're thinking it's a $400,000 purchase, a $50,000 rehab with a 525 ARV, and if you do the math just that way, you already know it's not a good deal.
Yeah.
So there's 30 seconds, you can delete that email.
Yeah, that's great.
There's a nugget. There's a nugget right here for you.
I like that. I appreciate that. That's awesome. Usually I hear people talking about backtracking, but this is kind of going forward. But
Going forward.
Yeah, I like that. And it sounds on point. I got to try this out.
Do the numbers. It's worked for us almost every time.
Of course. Yeah, that's
great.
great.
You know, at least it gives you an idea of, okay, this kind of does fit the parameters. Let me look into this deal further. And then you can decide if you wanted to spend more time on it.
Of course. Yeah, that makes sense.
93%, 95% of the time, we're deleting those emails after doing those numbers.
Yeah. Now, like you said, with the one woman, that wholesaler that you've worked with tons of times in the past.
She's actually a realtor.
Oh, realtor. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Do you have those relationships built up with certain wholesalers, or I guess realtors, that that, you know, when they send you a deal, like it is a deal and you don't need to worry too much about it?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
We've got several of those. Most of them are out of state right now.
Okay.
Again, the wholesalers that we're working with locally here in San Diego, they're their numbers, because they can get the price that they're asking for. They just don't fit our particular criteria.
Yeah.
We're not going to delete those people because we know that we worked with them in the past and their numbers, do work. But at this point in the marketplace and the time of the market, those numbers don't work for us now. But we do know that they know what they're doing and they're talking about. For example, when we used to wholesale deals, we wouldn't just throw a number out and tell them what the ARV is and what the rehab cost is and hope we can get under contract. What we're going to do is up front, we're going to spend the money and we're going to actually get the place professionally inspected. We're going to do a termite report. We might even do a mold report. And we're going to gather everything as if we were to be fix and flipping ourselves.
Yeah.
We evaluate the deal like we're a fix and flipper.
Okay.
So once we have all this paperwork and we spent some money on it, we can then present it to the, bless you.
Oh, thank
Bless
you.
you. We can then send it to the fix and flipper as a wholesale deal, and there's no question. They've already got their reports. They've already got the inspections done. They already have the list of repairs done and the contractor's bid in place.
Of course.
They used to use the contractor we use, or oftentimes in the past, what we've done is we've actually shopped it. So they'll send us the contractor's bid, and we'll go shop it at 2 or 3 other contractors. Usually they're all right in line, right? And that's why we can trust these people.
Okay.
So a lot of times that people actually started modeling their wholesale after how we were doing ours, because we were able to just to get a little bit more for it, because we've already spent, we want to recoup some of those costs, and they know it's a solid deal.
Yeah.
They know what they're getting themselves into.
Yeah, that's a great tip for, if you are going to wholesale, to go that just a little above and beyond extra steps to really supply, some great value to the end buyer. That's great.
Right. Take your contractor's list of repairs and take a video camera and run down the repairs and show people on the video camera each one of those lists, each one of those line items.
I love it. Yeah, that's great. So speaking of contractors, this is something that I have personally struggled with a good amount. I feel like it's a whole different breed.
Well, I think everybody has.
Yeah, everybody. So if you haven't jumped into real estate investing yet, welcome. And this is something to look forward to. But my first project, it should have been about a 2-month project, and it got pushed back to a little over a year with going through 5 different contractors.
Wow.
Yeah. So
well, let me ask you, what do you think the problem was?
So possibly poor judgment. Also long range. There was, investing in Ohio, I think because they knew that I was young, long distance, and, out here in California, probably assuming that, I have money or whatever the situation is.
Right.
I think they just took advantage where they could. And just unfortunately, there's just some issues that it probably should have went to court, but I just wanted to keep it moving and take the learning curves.
Right. Well, okay. So there's a few things to that. First, setting expectations in the beginning. You definitely want somebody on your team that can manage the projects as they're going out there, especially out of state.
Yeah, like boots on the ground.
Yeah, you're gonna want feet on the ground. You're gonna want to have that manager report to you, and then the contractor report to the manager. And in a way, you're kind of hidden in the background. Like this, the contractor may or may not really know who you are.
Yeah.
He just knows that this, he's reporting to this one, your guy, right? That's on the street. Make sure your contracts are in place. If they don't do a job by a certain time, it's going to cost them $100 a day. Those kinds of things, right? Don't pay them until they've done the job to completion.
Yeah.
Right. We did that a couple of times, right? That's a big no-no. They have to prove that job was done to your satisfaction prior to you writing them that final check.
Yep.
Get lien releases, right? Because you don't want them liening the property because, they didn't finish a job, but they still think that you owe them money.
That's a great tip. And I've read that several times in the past, and I actually, until you brought this up right now, that's going to save me a lot. Thank you.
It will. You're very welcome, right? I mean, usually you pay maybe 50% up front, and then you tier it out as they go along. When they finish a job, maybe you write the next 10% for the next 5 draws. But each time they write that, or each time you're writing them a check, they're signing a lien release for that specific, job that they were hired to do. Plumbing, electrical, roof, whatever the case may be, right?
Now, have you ever done, I'm sure you have, but what do you prefer, I guess, when it comes down to you possibly paying like for materials, like you order it at Home Depot, Lowe's, whatever it might be, and then you're just paying hourly for the contractor?
We've done it
bundled together.
Yeah, we've done it a couple of different ways. We've established a really good relationship with a couple of contractors locally in San Diego. Mm-hmm. One of our contractors we've worked with through multiple tens of deals, maybe even 50, 60, deals.
Yeah.
And after a while, he started buying his own and fixing his own and selling his own. So he's turned into a fix and flipper himself. So we slowly started to lose him. We went through a couple, we interviewed some people. And when you're interviewing your contractors, first, you're going to want to make sure to check Better Business Bureau. I mean, go super deep. You're going to want to make sure that this guy has a really good reputation and that he does what he says he's going to do. And don't just take his word for it, right? You ask for referrals, ask for all of the referrals he's ever, properties ever done. You can't really stop him from not giving you the bad ones, right? But you're going to want to just do the best you can on your due diligence. So we, at this point, he doesn't do any markups. We let him do all the ordering because he gets his contractor's discount. So we're okay with that. He'll bring us the receipt and that's what we pay. And then, of course he's going to do his maybe 10% markup on top of on top of the job, whatever it costs, right? That's typical.
Yeah.
And that's okay. We're okay paying that because, I'd rather pay him to do that than me going in there and swinging my own hammer. That's not where the most valuable time that I should be spending is, right? Yeah. Should be closing deals and sitting down and getting leads, right? That's where money generating activities, not swinging a hammer.
Yeah.
So.
Right. Okay, cool. So let's just talk for another minute or so about some additional learning curves that maybe you could help any new time listener out there. I know you already covered a ton, but anything else that really stands out to you that if you could have done it differently, you would have?
Well, if I could have done it differently, there's a reason why I'm here today.
Of course.
Doing the things I'm doing, and it's because of the path that I took, right?
Yeah.
So would I want to do it differently? Sure, there's a few things I could have done differently. However, I think the biggest thing is and especially if you want to accelerate your path to being able to do what you want to do, whatever that might be in life. Mm-hmm. But if you wanted to become a full-time real estate investor, if you just wanted to, flip a couple houses a year, the best thing to do is go, you got to invest in yourself. Now, whether that's personal development or education. I didn't have two nickels to rub together when I got involved and got my education. However, I found a way, right? I overstepped those obstacles. I burned right through them, and I didn't let anything stop me. So take massive action. Don't let people tell you you can't do it because they're not you, right? And please go get the right education. I'm not talking about the guru sales hype, run to the back of the room. I'm not talking about the rich dad, poor dad that could charge up to $100,000 to leave you all by yourself. That's insane.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Mind-blowing.
And I'm talking about, surrounding yourself with the right people and joining the right community and, getting involved and taking action. So
yeah, I love that.
That really, I like you said, I got mine through Renatus, and that by far is absolutely the best thing that I could have ever done. Obviously I made my tuition back on my very first deal. I mean, no brainer. That's one way to get it for free.
Yeah.
There's several other ways, and it's a lifetime membership. You've got one-on-one coaching, you've got group coaching, you've got daily calls, weekly calls, you've got a whole community of support. And it's absolutely the best thing you should be doing for yourself. Do it for yourself.
Yeah, it's so funny that you bring it up because I actually had Darell Kucan.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's over in Chicago, but he was just giving so much credit to that organization because of the groundwork, pretty much that the fundamentals that he needed, as well as just everything to help him build up to where he's at today, at being, I believe he's just 23 or 24 years old, a millionaire now. He went from negative $200 in the bank to 76 units. So it's very encouraging, and it's obviously has helped you as well, obviously.
Right.
Yeah. Cool.
And $72 in the bank, you might be wondering how a broke guy working, a job that pays a minimum wage goes from that to being a millionaire.
Yeah.
And it's actually kind of easy. It's getting the right education, surround yourself with the right people, get a mentor, set goals, and take massive action. Don't let those obstacles get in your way. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say about it other than, call me and I'll show you more about it for sure.
Yeah.
There's the business side of it. Man, I'll tell you about this one class. I learned how I can pay my mortgage off in 9.5 years. I got 28 years left on my mortgage. So there's one class in there that I'll be able to pay my mortgage off in 9.5 years.
Yeah.
It'll save me over $275,000 in mortgage, in interest payments, and over 20 years of time, right? What a stress relief that is. If you could have your mortgage paid off in less than 10 years, and you don't have a mortgage payment, like how much better could life be? Because a lot of people, their number one struggle in life is finances.
Yeah.
If we can eliminate that and, show you that path, it's totally worth it.
Yeah.
Right?
Game changer. That's awesome.
Just the tax class alone saved me 20 grand. That got it for free. What else? I mean, and we'll show you, like, yes, there's a cost, but it's a cost to yourself. It's not like there's a cost of the education, because I can show you how to get that for free, but you just have to be willing to invest in yourself.
Yeah.
But I can show you how you can actually do that without it actually costing you any money. So it's pretty cool. I'll even give it to you for free, but all you have to do is hire me as a realtor to help you buy or sell a house, or even just refer me to one of your friends. And I'll give you and your friend those classes for free. There's 10 classes in the essentials. Okay. There's 54 in the big package, but in the essentials, there's those 10 classes. So
okay, nice. That's exciting, man. Okay, well, what else are you working on right now? I know you got a bunch of different things in the fire.
Yeah, I mean, right now, current to date, our new construction, wholesales, a couple of wholesale deals that we're selling. We're not buying the wholesales, we're selling them.
Okay.
And our buy and holds that, in fact, what we're doing right now, and I talked about Mississippi earlier in the program, what we're doing now is we had quite a bit. We're actually liquidating our current inventory of our buy and holds, right? Okay. We only have 14 left. They're averaging $43,000. Their average rents are around $750, maybe $800 a month. And the cap rates are about 13% cap rates per house. Okay. You'll be buying with built-in instant equity. We're selling them for around 75 to 80 cents on the dollar. And I don't know if a lot of people know, but you can invest using your IRA as well for passive income. So we've got that in the works. And the reason we're liquidating is because we're transitioning, and we want to go heavier on the new construction in Missouri. We've got an opportunity to buy 20 acres for $100,000 and turn that into roughly about 40 home sites. Okay. And we're going to start building homes that way, potentially even liquidate maybe even half the project to another builder. We're not exactly sure where we're going with it yet, but we know it's $100,000 for the land, $100,000 to get it ready, parceled out. So we'd be in it for around $200,000. We could build these houses. These are a little cheaper. We could start building these houses for I'd say about $190, and they'd sell for about $290. Okay. So if anybody is interested in that as well, yeah. The math. It definitely, it's
no brainer.
And there's no way you can. It's almost like a fix and flip here in California, but you're doing it for half the price, right?
Of course. Yeah, so, and building something new, that's awesome to really help the neighborhood out. I think that's tremendous. That's really cool.
Right. And well, in Kansas City, that's where we're building them. Man, like the biggest structure of Amazon is actually being built out there. It's like 5 square acres of infrastructure that it's their main hub of the main warehouse. Yeah. It's in the very center of the U.S. Right? Okay. Yeah. Boy, what else? Oh, so the places that we're building, this is kind of fun. Our builder actually is really good friends with the mayor and the chief of police right there where we're building. So we've talked to the mayor, and the mayor wants us to come in and help, build out this area. And it's only about 20 minutes north of downtown Kansas City, Missouri. But once you get about 15 or 20 minutes out there, it just feels like, farmland. Yeah. But it's absolutely beautiful place. There's a lot of buildings going up, a lot of commercial buildings going up, and they need housing. And that's why he wanted us to come in and start building housing.
Nice.
Some of these we're selling before we're even done. We're selling these all cash in some cases before we're even complete with the house. So it's pretty fun. We're having a good time out there.
Yeah, that's a great opportunity. That's really cool. So yeah, man, that's awesome. So what else? I mean, do you have anything? What can we do to actually give back to you?
Well, I'll tell you what. If you're interested in the San Diego Investment Club, no matter where you're listening from, you can join our mailing list, and it's pretty easy. Grab your text or grab your phone, and I want to have you text to this number, right?
Okay.
So go ahead and get your phone out, and I want you to text 22828, and you're going to text it to SDIC, like San Diego Investment Club, SDIC. Once you do that, you'll join our mailing list. We have deals that we give out. Stay current on the market. We have a lot of things going on, right? Wednesday events. We have real deal tours on Saturdays. Come out and check out one of our live deals and see what's going on. And we'll go over the numbers, and we'll go over the acquisition strategy and the exit strategy and all these things, that go into the fix and flips, for example. So that's one way. Okay. If you're interested at all about, getting the right education, all I ask is just call me, because, I can send you a webinar. We can come to one of our live events. So you can call me at, here's my number, grab a pen, 760-683-4801. And if you call, I have a feeling I might be getting a lot of calls. So if it goes to voicemail, leave a voicemail, but then please just text me, hey, I heard you on Brandon's podcast. This is so-and-so, and I'm interested. Give me a call, right? Text me right away as well, because that way I'll respond faster. Or if you prefer, you can email me at SD, like San Diego, SDinvestments@hotmail.com.
Cool.
So just reach out. I'm here to help, right?
Yeah, man.
I mean, we have the privilege of being able to give back through the San Diego Investment Club. And, before we were the guys sitting in the audience that go into these clubs. Yeah. Definitely go to your REI clubs as well. And we just have the privilege of being able to take that club over and maintain its credibility. And we're in a position where we can give back. So that's why we're here. We're here to help.
I love it. And I definitely want to thank you again so much for taking your time out of the day I know how busy you've been recently and just in general, obviously, with all the projects you got going on. So it means the world to me that you actually took time to give back and help out some of the listeners.
Well, it's my pleasure. I appreciate it, Brandon. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. Okay. Well, with all that being said, this has been another podcast of Ready, Set, Go Real Estate Investing. I'm your host, Brandon Elliott. If you want to reach out to me, my website is BrandonElliottInvestments.com. You can email me as well, BrandonElliottInvestments@gmail.com. So, thank you so much, brother. I appreciate you.
Hey, you're welcome. Stay busy.
Okay. Till next time, guys. God bless.
All right. Talk to you soon.
This has been another episode of Ready, Set, Go Real Estate Investing Podcast, brought to you by Brandon Elliott. For more information, please visit BrandonElliottInvestments.com. Also, please don't forget to like, share, and leave a comment below. Thanks again for joining. Until next time, God bless.